Hello everybody, this is Ian Lamont, author of the Lean Media book, blog, and video channel. If this video helps you, please subscribe or like it at the end. Today I'm going to be talking about A-B testing for media. And this is pretty interesting because I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been doing media for so long, like 30 years, and the technology has really changed how you can do audience testing. And I do talk a lot about audience testing in the Lean Media book. This is going to be more focused on kind of quick and dirty testing for small creative elements, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. One thing you should understand is that A/B testing for media, this is maybe a little bit different than A/B testing for other types of products, such as a hardware product or consumer goods, or even something big like a car or something like that. This is really focused on small creative elements within media products, and here's my basic definition for it. So basically, for A/B testing, you're testing a single creative element with two or more versions to compare. So when I say this, let's take a look again at my book here. If I were to say, if I were to change the cover of my book, like let's say I had a green cover and a red cover, and I was testing them in an A/B test, okay, that's one creative element. However, if I'm changing the color of the cover, plus I'm replacing this gear icon with a picture of my face, so I'm changing two things at the same time, that's not A/B testing, because you're really mixing up the variables that you're trying to look at here. So you really want to just concentrate on one creative element for whatever product that you're testing. Okay, it's simultaneous testing on the same platform. This is an important concept because sometimes I hear people toss around the concept of A/B testing, and they'll say something like, oh yeah, I changed the background color on the cover of my book and I replaced it on Amazon, and I'm doing an A/B test with that. That's actually not an A/B test because it's not simultaneous testing. What you're doing is you're replacing the cover. So you're having two separate time periods that are being tested, not the same time, and potentially not the same audience either. The other thing that sometimes people do is they'll say, okay, I'm going to test one cover on Amazon and then another cover on Apple Books. And you're going to compare these two different creative elements, like the cover, on two different platforms. And again, you're not testing the same audience, and the learning experiences you have from that, you may not be able to scale that or apply it back to one or the other of the platforms. So the third thing that's pretty important is hundreds or thousands of participants. And I bring this up because if you're doing, like in the Lean Media book, I talk a lot about testing prototypes. Oftentimes, testing prototypes, it may just be with a really small group of people. Like we're talking about a half dozen people or a small focus group. And the issue with that is you might not be able to get a lot of learning outcomes from that you can scale up, because the sample size may not be big enough to give you accurate insights. And critically here, we're not talking about qualitative insights. We're really talking about kind of quantitatively measuring the insights and then applying them to a larger audience. So if it's just a small focus group, or you're talking with some people, let's say you have a band and you're talking with some of your fans about what they liked about the show or something like that, you have to be careful there, because those first of all, you can't simultaneously test something like a live performance. And then the other issue is that it's just not enough people if you're just talking with a few people to say, okay, well, 3 people at my show said that they liked this particular song, and is that really enough to make a conclusion if you're going to be playing in like a 3,000 person arena later on? Okay, the next important thing is like what is learned can be scaled. So when I say that, scaling up means just basically growing the size of the audience. So what I'm saying here is that, like, let's say that you test the cover of the book and you have a red version and a green version. The green one performs better on your test. And then what you're hoping to do with that learning outcome is to actually scale it up. So okay, we tested this with a small group of people. Now we're going to actually release the winner to a much larger group of people. Number 5, what is learned may be applied to other media. So, for instance, if I find out that the cover of my book performs better as green, and I switch it up on the book, maybe I can take that learning and apply it to like my website, Like instead of using red text here, I'm using green text. Or on my YouTube channel, I have a red background there. I might switch it up to a green background there. And it's important to note here that there may be other reasons for doing something like that, changing the color on your YouTube channel or changing the text here that are not just because it worked out better on the book, but because you want to have like a unified branding experience, or there's some other marketing consideration there. But I just want to say that sometimes you can take these learning outcomes and apply them to other media. Sometimes, however, you can't. And actually, in the example I'm going to show shortly, you'll see what I mean. And finally, what is learned isn't permanent. And this should be obvious to anyone who does media, but sometimes I think people from other disciplines kind of just totally misunderstand the way media works. And that is, media styles and trends and creative elements, they can really change. Audiences can really react to them differently, even in a short period of time. Like what's popular last year may not be popular this year when it comes to media stuff. And we see this all the time with social media, but increasingly it's happening with other types of media too, like including, music is a classic example. Who wants to hear, the big hit production trend from 3 years ago? It's oftentimes it's really evolving so fast because new people are coming on the scene, audiences have different needs, or maybe there's new technology. It really blows, it really changes people's attitudes about what worked in the past. So for media, don't just always be tracing yesterday's trends. If an A/B test worked, that's great. Run with it, for as long as you can, which may be a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe even a couple years. But be prepared to don't be locked into that learning outcome. Is saying like, all right, green covers worked for this A/B test, and so I'm going to be doing green covers forever. No, you have to really be switching things up. And actually, for book covers in particular, you see trends changing all the time. Maybe not all the time. Like every 5 years or so, there's like a big change. So I may need to actually think about that in terms of just creatively changing up the way that this book cover works in terms of the cover elements, and also the fonts and things like that. Okay. So I promise you it's going to show you an example, so let's get going on that. This is a tool called Klaviyo. I use it for email marketing, and one of the great things about digital tools these days is that it's really easy to do A/B testing. In fact, A/B testing is built right into the platform. See how it says sent A/B here for this particular newsletter? Here's another one, sent A/B. And if you look down, you see about maybe half of them have a sent A/B test. So let's take a look and see what I tested and what I learned. So here's the performance of this particular newsletter. You can see that it made $400. That's great. Open rate, 38%. Click rate, 2.3%. Let's look at the A/B test results. Now, what I was doing here, I was testing the use of emojis in a newsletter headline. So when you looked at your email program on your phone or desktop version of your email program, some people would see these 3 emojis put before the newsletter title. So, magnifying glass, check mark, arrow. New free shipping offer, backyard history mystery, DNA connects woman with father's family, America's showman, dentist, Chinese genealogy. Okay. The other version of it, the A version of it, exact same headline, but I put the emoji at the end. And I wanted to see how these two would stack up. So what I was really looking at was the open rate. And actually the open rates are pretty similar. And you can see I tested them with thousands of people, or thousands on. I think what happens is actually they test 2 versions of them with hundreds of people, and then whichever one wins, they'll send the rest of the emails to them. But this is a large enough sample size where you can make a conclusion about that. However, you can see that they're still pretty close. It's 37.9% versus 38.5%. If you're talking about a website or a digital product with thousands or millions of viewers, this is like a big deal. Like just 1% makes a huge difference in the number of people that may be reacting to your particular email. So this might be an important thing. For the size of this newsletter, which is thousands of people, it may not be so important, but I'd have to evaluate that a little bit more. The other thing that I'm looking at is the click rate. So interestingly, the click rate was better for this one as well, slightly better. And in fact, Klaviyo, based on this, gave the B version the winner. That's the one with the emoji at the beginning. However, the other thing that really stacks things up for me is the revenue. So, I have small promotions in the newsletter, product promotions in there for the products that we sell. the B version definitely worked a lot better in that respect. So that's something else. That's something else that you want to consider. Sometimes I've seen a case where actually the open rate is better for the B version, but the revenue is better for the A version. So these are things that you have to evaluate. So that's just a quick and dirty look at A/B testing for media. I do talk a lot about audience testing and prototyping media products in my book, Lean Media. For more information, go to leanmedia.org. Click on video to take a look at my many videos about lean media and also about tools for selling and marketing your media products. I also have a blog about it. And then on Twitter at leanmedia.org, I'm talking about the media business all the time. This is my passion. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I hope that some of my learning experiences can help you evaluate your own media business and maybe make it connect more readily with different types of audiences. This is Ian Lamont signing off. Thank you so much for watching.